Hello, EDCI 702FZ, Manu Fayetteville cohort. How are you? I really enjoyed seeing you and meeting you this past weekend, and by the end of the weekend, I felt like you were bonding as a cohort, which is a really cool thing. Um, this is your chilly week 3 message from Pittsburgh, and uh, I want to give you some new information. I want to circle back to some of the stuff that we talked about, the CNA and the OA, and the evidences and lots of things, I guess, that we talked about this past weekend. I want to give credit where it's due. Rosalind Tenney is jetting ahead and doing some work that she can share with you, and maybe it's a hack that will make your workload lighter this week. Way to go, Rosalind. And yeah, let's just work down the list. Your clinical experience log, I'm going to check them the next time we get together. I think that's week 7. So don't put anything in Blackboard just yet about that log, but you need to get started on it. And you need to get started in collaboration. And you need to get started on your CNA and OA. So I hope you got back to school today, this week, and got involved and spoke to somebody about your program and the evidences that you need to complete and the collaboration that you need to do in order to demonstrate your leadership and facilitation of that data analysis and prioritization, because that's what you're doing in the CNA and the OA. So you should be logging that stuff. And again, if you just start writing in your planner now, make sure that once a week or so you're updating your log and transferring stuff over from the planner to describe those meetings before they get away from you. Now, your APA tip for the week is to put the period outside the parentheses, but I added this cheat sheet, and let me stop my share for a second in order to show this to you. Okay, so what is this thing? It is a little cheat sheet for where the headings go, how the headings go in APA style. So for each of your evidences and for your dissertation, finally, you'll be using these APA style headings. And there's a level 1 heading, 2 heading, and how you indent in order to show the outline in APA. That's what it's all about. For your first initial heading of the introduction of the major sections, I think there's 5 or 6 major sections in your OA. The first one is centered in boldface, uppercase, and lowercase headings. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to show you an example of this in just a minute, but this is your cheat sheet that you should download and save somewhere about this and why it has those edit marks. I'm not sure. Anyway, that's here. Okay, I hope I didn't lose you in those sharing changes. The APA headings cheat sheet is right here. Open it and download it and save it. Then the accompanying document is down here. So let me go there and show you this part first, and then I'll come back to it. This was created by another one of my classes and sent to me. So again, these are the headings that you will use, and this is your outline for the OA. So if you want to copy and cut and paste this and use it as the outline for the OA, you're going to find that it looks an awful lot like the outline for the CNA as well. And if you use this template, then all of your headings are already created for you. They're already in the right place. And so rationale and purpose, members of the team. But this is a level 1 heading up here. This is a level 2 heading. And then you get down a little bit further and you're going to see that's level 1 again, level 2, level 3 heading, okay? And anyway, that's the way to keep those straight. And here's an outline for your OA. Do you have to use every single one of these things? Well, you're supposed to talk about management routines and budgeting process. So internal perceptual data, yes. But if you're not using the North Carolina Teachers Working Conditions Survey for your internal perceptual data, then you well, you are supposed to use your TWC, but there should be some variation here as well. Not all of you are going to have a climate survey or culture typology, but I noticed that Carrie had an advanced ed team come to her school and do a lot of analysis with a bunch of different perceptual surveys. They all need to go here. And so her headings are going to be a little bit different and longer. But this is kind of the minimum. And if you do this and do these things and answer the questions well, you're going to be at least proficient. So again, that's a hack. That's a way to, that's the kind of hack that I hope that you're sharing with one another in the cohort. So if somebody jets ahead and does the outline and shares it with others, maybe this is a way to jigsaw some of the work and take the heavy burden off, make it a little bit lighter. I'm getting ahead of myself. You have an APA headings brief. You have an APA headings template to use for your OA. But what about the actual content for the week? Well, you're to read chapters 1 and 2 in Leading Adult Learning, Ellie Drago Severson's book about the pillar practices, about mentoring and teaming and collegial inquiry and leading, providing leadership roles for adults as ways in order to spread the leadership across the building. It's taking the philosophy that the principal has way too much on his or her plate in order to be the sole instructional leader in the school, and that we can broaden the leadership in effective ways, especially through these 4 pillar practices. So if you come down and open this folder, make sure that you do, please. And oh, by the way, there's your homework. March 2nd, we will have presentations from Rosalind and Chastity on teaming, Danya and Chris on leadership roles. And later in April, when we meet, the final 2 pillar practices are collegial inquiry, Anna and Michelle, and mentoring with Shawnee, Kevin, and Carrie. But in the folder on Leading Adult Learning, I'm showing you my view because I want you to see I have closed a couple of discussion board posts this week intentionally. We discussed the ways of knowing, and I have also forwarded that handout to you. So what I would like you to do, I think, is read the chapters 1 and 2, read the chapters, really understand Keegan's ways of knowing. He calls them, he has a little bit different terms than you saw on your handout, but consider perhaps teaching that 1-pager, use the same handout I gave you. Try to perhaps teach this theory, it is a theory, to others. Ask if this resonates with them. What is their way of knowing? How is knowing their way of knowing going to enable you to be an effective leader in pushing them to their growing edge? Anyway, ways of knowing and Keegan's constructive developmental theory are at the bottom of chapter 2, or in chapter 2, and Ellie Drago Severson's pillar practices are fully explained there too. Know this stuff. We talked a little bit about ways of knowing, and here it asks what pillar practices you're using. I want you to think deeply about your pillar practice presentation, but also the other pillar practices, and which are you using now in your school? Perhaps you are in a leadership role already, or maybe you'd like to move into a leadership role. Are you engaged now as a mentor? Are you working with others on teams? How's that going? Teaming can look a whole lot different at different places, and some are very, very effective, high-functioning teams. Others not so much. Collegial inquiry, I have heard that some of you have done book studies and led teams of folks in inquiry together. All good stuff. And there's an e-maze here, a PowerPoint type presentation that summarizes chapters 1 and 2. I would like you to look at that. I do not want you to put down your initial thoughts, though I'd like you to have them, and your ways of knowing. Those are 2 discussion boards that you can skip this week. And that's my week 3 gift to you after a good week together. Why am I doing that? Because you got tons of work to do back here in this other folder on your OA and your CNA and a little bit on the PE. So in these CNA and OA, I do want you to come out of a weekend, our first weekend together, really thinking about the differences between these two. Now, Roz is again jetted ahead and already posted something here. So take a look at what she has to say and then deepen the understanding with a little bit of dialogue about your understanding of the CNA and the OA. Especially, I would think about the part that some of you may not have had experience with and may not have had experience leading is the analysis and the prioritization of needs that would be part of both these documents. So read and respond, think about root causes, think about how root causes try to get us to effective research-based strategic ways to improve and what that continuous improvement process looks like. So respond there with a little bit of dialogue. I would also ask that you respond to this OA post about the SWOT, PRIMO, and PESTLE. Make sure that you understand those. I think after last weekend that you do. But understand, in methodology this summer, you're going to hear something about quantitative, math, numbers, and qualitative methodology. And primarily the OA is qual, without telling you that. And the CNA is quan, the numbers. And Rosalind, again, got a little bit ahead of herself there, but she's on the right track. Then she responded to this early and did a great job describing the tasks of the PEABC. But I think I've got to find and correct the timeline that she pulled somewhere because I've corrected it. So make sure you understand what the timeline and tasks are for the PE, and then you don't need to respond to all of them, but make sure you have cut and pasted and corrected Roz's timeline. That's what I have for the CNA OA here. Oh, and make sure you look at that OA template. I think that's gold and a little bit of a hack for you. So you're welcome. Thank you to Rosalind one more time for providing our devotional scriptures and for leading the devotional last weekend. That was a great thing. I appreciate it. So Ellie, stick your toe in there with Ellie. Some of the readings in this program, the PE book, the Fitzpatrick book, you want to use as a reference guide. This is one that I hope you use as bedtime reading and really, really try to think deeply about the pillar practices. This is much more fundamental in terms of the teacher leader model standards and the way that we in the Gardner-Webb EDCI program want you to infuse leadership throughout your school and in what you do. That's it for week 3. Thank you. Have a wonderful week, and email or call me if you need something. Thank you.